Corrupt Authority by yours truly. From Violet City, Kenta and Hibiki flew southbound for Azalea Town on Bolt's back. Kenta sat at the forefront, holding onto the Salamence's neck and watching the treetops below for signs of their destination. Munchlax clung to Kenta's back, pointing down eagerly every so often at the berry trees and whining in disappointment when they sped right past. Behind them, Hibiki took inventory of all the items in their sack, somewhat reluctantly. He didn't want to spend a second longer on it than he had to, rooting through his backpack when he could be holding on to something so as not to fall. Kenta, we already went through this stuff back at the Summer Academy. We know what's in here. One rule of the military, Hibiki, always double-check your stock. The tiniest missing thing could put the whole mission in jeopardy. All right. I've got your old uniform here, including the hat with the wig, the brown cloak, a fresh Pokéblock dispenser, 3 revive potions, a small variation of berries, all 40,000 yen of my allowance savings. Why'd we bring all this at once? He asked, looking up. Should we really be putting all of our eggs in one basket? It's the only way the basket can be effective, my man, replied Kenta merrily. I know that didn't make much sense, but screw it, you know what I mean. Uh-oh! Hibiki pulled frantically on Kenta's sleeve as he turned automatically to behold an unplanned and certainly unwelcome sight. Behind them, flying about 50 feet away, hovered a uniformed officer on a Pidgeot, holding a megaphone in his hands. Shoot, muttered Kenta. Bogey at 5 o'clock. He's gaining on us! Cried Hibiki, already panicking. What should we do? What should we do? Get that cloak on, Kenta responded hastily, pointing to Hibiki's backpack. I'll do the talking. You be ready for anything.
Attention trainers on that Salamence!
Came the officer's voice in an artificially amplified voice from behind them.
This is the Johto Sky Patrol. You are in possession of an illegal Uber Pokemon as defined by the Government Restrictive Institute on Pokemon. Land immediately at the nearest forest clearing for questioning. This is an order.
Oh my god, whispered Hibiki, fumbling with the cloak and finally wrapping it around himself. We're so busted! We're going to be arrested already before we can even do anything! Pull yourself together, Hibiki! Barked Kenta sternly. Hibiki immediately fell silent, and Kenta pointed down at a nearby clump of trees, indicating Bolt to land. Don't worry, he said more gently over his shoulder. It takes a cop to know a cop. I can handle this. Deal with him firmly and don't show fear for a second. Keep your face covered. We're going down. Once both parties had landed and dismounted from their respective Pokemon, the officer approached Kenta and Hibiki with a hint of a smirk on his face. Smart boys, he said briskly. You knew you wouldn't be able to outrace a Pidgeot. He held out his badge. Now, which of you fellas want to tell me how you came by a Salamence at such a time as this? He's mine, sir, said Kenta, standing stiffly at attention. The policeman sneered at him. Not for long, he isn't. Don't you watch the news, kid? Aren't you aware that you're breaking the law by being in possession of an overpowered Pokemon? Even lower law enforcement officers aren't permitted those. I don't know what you're talking about, sir, said Kenta loudly, adopting the same official tone as the officer. Bolt is my friend, not my possession. At any time he wants, he can leave me and return to the wild. The cop's eyes narrowed. Now look here, smartass, he said more dangerously, pointing a finger at Kenta's face. You're in enough trouble already. Cheeking the police doesn't help your cause. Let's see some identification before you go and make any more wrong moves. Hibiki glanced at Kenta fearfully, but Kenta's expression didn't change. He only shrugged. I'm sorry, sir. I don't have it on me. The officer was quiet for a moment, then turned on Hibiki. And you? No? I see. The cop removed his cap, scratching his balding head. He replaced it, wearing a mock-pitying expression on his face. Well, I'm sorry to say this, but I'm going to have to ask you two boys to come with me to the nearest police station. But before you do that, please hand over that Salamence's Pokeball. At this, a smile appeared on Kenta's face for the first time since the landing. Again, I'm sorry, sir. I don't have it on me. The other man's eyes narrowed. Where is it then? It's actually in a lot of places by now, Kenta responded, picking up his foot and examining it underneath. There's probably even a little bit stuck in the sole of my shoe. What do you think? Can you still see a piece? Something keeps sticking my foot whenever I walk, and it's bugging the hell out of me. The officer's expression changed to one of mild bewilderment, and to Hibiki, it seemed like his first show of weakness. You smashed it? He asked disbelievingly. Kenta nodded, and his jolly grin was suddenly gone as swiftly as it came. Yes, and would you like to know why? he asked, subtle danger now echoing in his own tone. Hibiki took an involuntary step backwards. He had never seen Kenta this way before. There was anger, and then there was ferocity. Kenta balanced between the two with chilling composure, and it made Hibiki shudder involuntarily. Because I don't like it when my friends are stolen away from me. It's one thing if they leave on their own will. I can accept that. But when they're kidnapped, and I have no say in the matter... Kenta's eyes flashed, and Hibiki saw the cop reaching for his utility belt. Well, I tend to stop thinking about the consequences of my actions. Emotion trumps reason. What is law crumbles to what is right. No more threatening language out of you, or I shoot, the officer warned, holding his taser out at Kenta. Eyeing the weapon, Kenta let out a short laugh and turned so that he faced the cop sideways. Ha! Big man with his electric gun. Getting back to my little rant, he pointed to the Pokeballs on the policeman's belt. I know how the tagging system works. You'd have taken away all my Pokemon if I hadn't beaten you to the punch. No genie without a lamp, you know what I'm saying? Hibiki heard a crackling noise and saw Kenta twitch. The officer had activated the taser. However, instead of falling to the ground in a fit of spasms, Kenta remained on his feet, a death glare burning on his face. But you did manage to take the friend I'd known the longest, he hissed, clenching his hands in his fists. And God only knows where he is now and what you people are doing with him. Give him back. The officer activated the taser again. Kenta didn't even blink this time. Give Bakufun back to me. He's not your tool for control. He's my valuable friend. Kenta really wants his Typhlosion back, thought Hibiki, watching unblinkingly as the two officers stood off. I was never a trainer, so I can't fully appreciate the bond they must have had. Still, Kenta's serious about this. He's like a mad Mother Ursaring right now, who's lost her cub. Why isn't this working? Mumbled the officer, staring down at his taser and shaking it. Replacing the stun gun in its holster, he drew out a Pokeball instead, looking at Kenta with the face of a cornered animal. I don't know what you are, he snarled, but electric immune or not, you've broken several laws and resisted arrest. The patrolman tossed his Pokeball on the ground, and in a burst of light, an enormous brown creature with layered hide like knight's armor appeared. Hibiki recognized it immediately as Tyranitar, and he swallowed painfully as it let out a deafening roar. The Dragonite of the Johto region, Kenta had called it. At minimum, the monster was at level 55, and would have learned some of its most devastating moves by now. The average Pokemon trainer would have been considered tough with level 30 Pokemon on his team, but this was simply overkill. Kenta observed his foe's Pokemon coolly as dirt rose out of the ground around the Tyranitar and burst apart into sand-sized pieces. Special ability Sandstorm, he muttered. So then, these are the kinds of Pokemon they're letting guys like you have today. You get your own climate and everything. This is your last chance, the officer demanded over the rushing din of the sandstorm. Stand down, or I'll order him to attack. Hibiki looked from Tyranitar to Kenta, and stared in surprise at his expression. It had changed again. Now Kenta had a glint in his eye, and a determined grin on his face. There was something nostalgic about the expression, and as he watched, Hibiki suddenly had a vision burst from the past, as if he were looking at the 16-year-old version of Kenta again. Now that's more like it, beamed Kenta, taking a few steps back. It sounds like you just challenged me to a Pokemon battle. I accept, and Bolt is my choice for this match. The cop pointed furiously at Kenta's Salamence, and the enormous dragon Pokemon flapped heavily forward and confronted Tyranitar. Resisting arrest, you leave me no choice. Tyranitar, Rock Slide! Bolt, protect! Evade the stones! Never in his life had Hibiki seen such a high-level Pokemon match, at least not live. It reminded him of the old Godzilla cartoons he used to watch on television as a little kid. The Tyranitar's enormous tail buried itself in the ground and lifted out rocks the size of watermelons as if they weighed nothing. Yet in spite of his size, Bolt wheeled skillfully around each and every stone as it was catapulted towards him. Alright, time for the counterattack, barked Kenta, pointing at the Tyranitar's neck. Straight below the chin! Aerial Ace! Immediately, Bolt disintegrated into thin air and reappeared directly in front of Tyranitar, speeding into him with the force of a small truck. The foe Pokemon wheeled, but knelt and regained its balance at a moment later. Kenta gritted his teeth in disappointment. Darn it! We still missed. Is that the best you've got? Roared the officer from the other side of the battlefield. In contrast to his stiff and formal attitude a moment ago, being in the heat of the fight was drawing out all of his human emotions that came with the instinct. He, too, was alive with battle fury. I see you've taught your Salamence a couple of TM moves. You're not the only one, though. Tyranitar, slow them down with Thunder Wave! The great tank of an enemy Pokemon raised its paws, and a shockwave of electricity pounded through the air towards Bolt's side of the field. For a third time, Kenta withstood the electrical energy as if nothing had happened. But Bolt shuddered and flapped painfully to the ground, obviously stunned. Speed is our edge, and we're not losing it! Barked Kenta. Eat the berry, Bolt! It's too late! I have you now! Shouted the officer victoriously. Tyranitar, take it down with Stone Edge! Too slow! Kenta retaliated, as Tyranitar lifted its great tail to full height to smash the Salamence. Bolt! Brick Break! In a second's time, Bolt's skull rammed Tyranitar in its diamond-shaped gut, twisting the foe's body in a forced, awkward angle. Then Tyranitar flew backwards with all the force of a falling meteor, slamming heavily into a pine tree with a resounding crack. With its back spikes holding it fast to the wood, the great tank of a Pokemon hung uselessly, unable to do anything but drop its head limply as consciousness left its body. To the three humans looking upon the defeated creature, it looked as though it had been crucified. A spooky silence followed in the forest clearing as the sandstorm wore down, having nothing to keep it going. The defeated police officer gaped disbelievingly at his beaten Tyranitar, then with apparent effort looked back at Kenta. Hibiki, who was too busy staring in shock at Bolt, also turned his attention to Kenta. Incredible, he thought, as Kenta walked up to his Salamence and rubbed its head with a jubilant smile. Between Bolt and Kenta, there's an unfathomable amount of force on our side. We may really be able to pull this off after all. People like you, the policeman breathed, looking at Kenta with wide eyes. You're the reason we had to let G.R.I.P take other trainers' Pokemon. It's because of you rogue trainers who defy authority with your power. Not me, said Kenta softly, scratching underneath Bolt's neck while he looked at his fallen opponent. It's because of what G.R.I.P has done that I fight you, but I am not a criminal, and I can't have you identifying me as one.